Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad that you've joined us today. My name is Naomi Harm, and I'm joining you from beautiful Cave Creek, Arizona. I have some amazing teacher friends that are joining us today. So far, we have found out they're joining us from Pittsburgh. We also have a great educator friend joining us from Ireland. And then we have a wonderful educator friend too joining us from Washington, D.C. The playback of what I'm sharing here today, I will have the slide deck shared. And if we have other teacher guests that will be joining us, please feel free to reshare that slide deck so that others can have access to that. But our focus today is that we're going to be talking about strategies for the very best staff meetings, and they need to take place all year long. Sometimes when I work with administrative teams and even teacher teams that are co-leading, they think, well, we just got to start that staff meeting at the beginning of the year. And they set the stage for some great teaching and learning, and then things happen to slide midway through the year. We've got to find lots of energy to keep that going all year long with a purpose and a focus and making sure that it's extremely meaningful. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Okay. So our big idea that we'll be sharing today is that we're going to make sure that you have lots of time to share your ideas too, because I know that you that are here joining us today also have brilliant ideas that are working. So we want to learn from you. And then I'm going to add a few more that you can add to your digital toolbox, and that this is something that you could even try tomorrow or next week. So I'm hoping that we can take some of your ideas and we'll remix them with some things that I showcase here. And then we're going to come up with an extraordinary idea that you will inspire your staff with that next level. Okay. So number one, which a lot of us already know, but we need to make staff meetings more real and more relevant and make it purposeful. There's been so many times that we've actually sat in a staff meeting and we almost have that premonition, like it's like, uh-oh, here's that staff meeting. I have to be here for that 30 minutes or that hour, and it's going to be the same old, same old. And I might be a specialty teacher or like an encore teacher. And then I feel this has no purpose or no value because they're not addressing my subject specific area. Yet at the same time, we need to change that mindset. We need to actually have those that are also co-sharing or co-leading that session to engage our end users of teachers, or if there are other administrators, that there needs to be at least to find value. Everyone needs to have a more open mindset to think, what is one thing I can at least glean and take away from others? And that's what's most purposeful. Okay, welcome, Cher. I'm so glad that you're here. I will again add our shared slide deck to the back channel chat so that you can gain access, but you have the full preview here, and then we'll share it again before the end of our time frame. So again, just sharing that the first thing is we've got to set the stage when constructing and framing any type of opportunity that we're empowering our staff to learn something new, to roll out strategies for remote teaching and learning. We have to make it extremely relevant and make it extremely purposeful. Some things to think about how to do this, always the how and the why. But what I have found most purposeful when I have co-led actually with administrators, when we are working with K through 12 educators as a large professional development opportunity, we always make sure that we state the why, because teachers want to know what the roadmap is, or even other administrators, what's the roadmap? What's the targeted learning outcome, and what's the purpose for our gathering? We've got to find that golden nugget so that teachers feel, okay, it's worth it and I can be valued coming here as well. Okay. Yeah. So teacher friends, that if you've just joined us, I'll just make sure I can. Yep. Thanks for muting your for your microphone. Yes. And we will make sure that we will turn our microphones later that everybody can share, because I want you to be part of this. Okay, so thank you so much. So Jocelyn, also welcome. It's great to see you. And we also have Ramona that's also recently joined us. So wonderful. Glad you're here, teacher friends. The other evidence that we have found, you can make your life much simpler as an administrator to empower a teacher team of teacher leaders that they can rotate through that ability to co-design and co-facilitate the agenda with you and your staff. You will immediately get more buy-in from your staff when you've got their peers there helping, showcasing, sharing, and having meaningful tasks that they can complete. It also makes the agenda much more purposeful too, because it brings the lens from an administrator of what must be covered and done. It brings the lens from a teacher leader of what is relevant and what teachers are looking for, so the voice of the teacher can be involved. But also, it brings and collides beautifully the admin element, the teacher element, the why, and the how. So, anytime that you can bring in co designers and co facilitators with that agenda, it makes it much more purposeful. And all I can say, you need to add an element of humor. Humor meaning, could it also be included as, could I create a meme? Meaning that I have a picture and then I can actually have like a quote over that picture to represent something that is taking place that's relevant locally within your school district, or maybe how it's related to remote teaching and learning and our blended learning scenarios right now. All of the different Zoom and Microsoft Teams and the Google Meet meetings, it's amazing that we're still coaching and helping others all the time to unmute and remute and share over here. And this isn't working here and this is happening here. But we're helping everybody get caught up to speed with those tech literacy elements. But adding an element of humor, that's what's most important too, because the heavy is happening right now with COVID and our pandemic. We've got to find a way to find lighthearted, spiritual opportunities just to lift the room and lift the mood of the room. And that's going to make it much easier on our teachers as well. So I really want to focus too on modeling the message, especially if you create or co-design an agenda with your teachers, as you as an administrator with your teachers. We need to make sure that we're very mindful and purposeful, that we're also modeling the type of learning that should be taking place. Because if we're just sitting and just spewing out all of this information and they have to sit and get, and then we are talking about that we should be purposely pausing, processing information, allowing for more time to reflect, and we don't let educators do that during a staff development meeting, then we're just a talking head again. What we're expecting teachers to model with students, we as administrators must be modeling with our teachers, because that needs to be that in reinforcement. So it really is a cultural aspect and a community-wide effort to model the message so staff can understand the purpose. So at this time, I'm going to pause and I'd like you to chat in the back channel chat. What type of method or strategy have you used that really helps you model the message to instantly get the buy-in? I would say for the first 5 to 10 minutes of your teachers, or if you're working with administrators, or if you're a teacher leader modeling this with your students. What do you model of that message to get the buy-in, to making sure that it's very wow-worthy, engaging, and you're setting the stage for really conducive and collaborative learning? So I'm going to pause so that you can process that question, and then you can reflect in the back channel chat. The back channel chat can be found. You have a black ribbon on top of your webinar screen. It has a little note card next to the hand, and when you click on that little note card, it opens up a side window in which that you can chat and share your ideas. So again, what's a message that you model, or what's a strategy to get your teachers, or maybe if it's students or even your admin teams, really involved from the get-go, of making it very purposeful, that they feel there's a reason why they're here, they feel valued, and also that you're bringing them right into the meeting. And I'm just pausing so that you can have time to process, so that you can reflect and type your answer in the back channel chat. If you'd like to be so inclined, turn on your microphone and share an idea too. I have no problem with that to make this more interactive today. Ah, great idea, Jocelyn. So while you wait, activities and questions to engage with the lesson or the meeting. I love that prompt that you just gave. I've used some activities, and I'm sure you've used it this way too, Jocelyn. I've actually had some really open-ended questions that I've actually just put on an 8.5 sheet of paper, but I've embedded a QR code that I ask the question, and if they scan the code, it takes them to a resource link to strategize and give them more ideas of how to solve that problem. to getting them thinking. So it's almost like a pre-reading activity, or it takes them to a video clip to inspire them when I know that I've got about 5 to 10 minutes before everybody comes in. Oh, I like that idea, Charlotte. Any new strategies or any new practices, she also is mentioning that you allow times teachers to try that strategy as a trial, almost like as a pilot, right? Because we've got to work out the bumps. And sometimes there's some technology hiccup bumps that get in the way. Yep. And also your teams during the lockdown, you allowed for teachers to go out of the meeting, create their own, and then come back. Oh, how purposeful is that? Exactly. Our teachers say sometimes we talk too much at them, and then they're never allowed enough time. So that's why it's purposeful for our meetings when we model the message. Anytime that we introduce something new and we want them to strategize or try, we have to have that pause and think moment and have teachers, even if you can partner them up as dynamic duos or transformative trios, and right there in the staff meeting, give them a chunk of time, even if it's 5 minutes, 7 minutes, or 10 minutes. Have them apply, have them practice, and then learn as a dynamic duo to help each other. Absolutely. That's brilliant. Yes, exactly. And they could reflect to help with anyone who had issues. Absolutely. Because all of a sudden, you are building unique confidence within your teacher leaders. And as soon as that light bulb goes on, then a teacher's like, oh, I can do this. I know what I can do. You've just engaged a teacher to be a teacher helper to someone else. So that's what we want to do, that continuum of collaborative shared leadership. It's about empowering others, and that's our leadership role. We need to empower others if they feel that they can help others. Okay. Thank you for sharing, teacher friends. Now, in another area, always include feedback and an idea. And that's really going to help build collaborative team trust. So that's why we are today, when I give ideas and strategies, I'm going to go right back to that back channel chat, because your voice is so essential to tie in those realistic and credible learning moments, because you know it works, but you can take it and just tweak it to go to that next level. So these are some things that I personally use. Now, Microsoft just rolled out their whiteboard app if you haven't used that, but their whiteboard app works very similar like to Jamboard, and I just got an update the other day. So the Microsoft Whiteboard app will give you an idea that you could all of a sudden be creating and making with teachers. So let's say if I pose an essential question and I want my students or my teachers as students that they give me critical feedback and we're doing some brainstorming. I could use a digital whiteboard just like Microsoft Whiteboard, or I could use a Jamboard, or I could use Padlet. It gives a sense of teacher agency. They feel, she values my opinion. Yes, let's brainstorm, let's strategize. I also offer many times of quick writes and sketch notes. A lot of times our teachers are saying, I've had enough of technology. I want to use a good old fashioned notebook. So I always have at my desk area, I still have a good old fashioned notebook, because the research has shown that 27% of us still need to use this beautiful technology of a pen or pencil. The tangibility helps us solidify ideas, meaning I can still write down my thoughts that I'm processing, and then it makes it more uniform on paper and organized, and it helps me remember at a greater capacity. The same is true for our students. So always, you still need to have some type of paper pencil activities to meet those learner needs. The same way for sketch notes. I've got a lot of teacher friends that like to do drawings while they're doing some of those connecting as well. That's what I like to have available. And as always, as I'm going to share here, we need to pause more frequently. The biggest differentiator for students and teachers, instead of us just charging on through and getting through that staff meeting without a meaningful purpose, we don't pause, we don't connect enough with others, and we don't reflect to value the voice of our educators coming in. Because sometimes as leaders, we kind of know what we need to do. And we have to showcase that we have to involve the teachers, but yet we got to make this decision quite quickly. But we do need to slow down a little bit. We need to value the intellect that's in the room, because they have brilliant ideas. So we need to do that more often. And we also need to ask, what if we, and asking them that their voice is of value. So more times of what if we, or if we approach the problem in this manner, what would you think? And a lot of times just taking that I out and putting the we in, it's that collaborative approach. Also, just-in-time resources and supports that are needed. So sometimes when we're trying to introduce a staff meeting that can be kind of complex and convoluted, let's make sure that we have some visual literacy aspects. Maybe there's a brief video clip, and maybe there is that sheet of paper that we have to have some of those big bulleted items down, that those ideas will connect with the types of learners you have in your classroom. I also will start and better read the room too, that I still do fun ways of intro tickets, exit tickets, and kickoff and closings, because I want to make sure I'm valuing what the unique intelligence of the room has to offer of all of my learners. Because my teachers that are on-call teachers, that are specialty teachers, are offering a different perspective than my teachers that are coming in from their elementary, because they've all have interacted maybe with that big initiative, but differently from their perspectives, and they're looking at it from a different lens. And that's that diversity approach that we need to celebrate right now. Yes, I agree, Charlotte. And sometimes if it's an anonymous point, examples like Mentacom, and yeah, staff can give points that they are not afraid to say. I will do that a lot. If I integrate my slide deck today, let's say if I would have used Pear Deck, I could do that as well as anonymous, and then more teachers are willing to share so that we have truth and value added without any teachers feeling that they will be ridiculed or judged for whatever reason. I also start my meetings with an action item checklist. I'm a checklist person, and I will be um, very apparent with my educators and say, today we got a heavy checklist. We've got 5 things we need to get through. Our goal is at least to get through 3. It would be great if we get through all 5, but we need to cover these 3 first, so that you're prioritizing, so they see that what is on the agenda. And then if we don't get through them, even being a takeaway to say, could you give me feedback on this parking lot board now, and give me some feedback on those last 2 items, because your voice is important and I want to make sure that we can still cover them, and then valuing that time. Okay, thank you so much for sharing, everyone. A few other things. Here's that humor side. I said again, laughter is the best medicine. And I love this. So I used a kind of a Bitmoji bubble there, and it says, you might be a teacher if you are thankful that your thought bubble is invisible at staff meetings. So do you think you have any educators that are in your meetings thinking about that sometimes? Their thinking voice. They're not sharing it, but their thinking voice. So sometimes a thinking voice is okay, and we need some of those ideas to come out. But we want to make sure that we set the stage for active learning, that we don't want to have our students or as teachers turn us off, meaning that now they're going to say, uh-oh, there she goes again. She's jibber-jabbering away and she's not listening to what we need. So making sure that, again, it's purposeful and meaningful. Okay, thanks, everyone. Now let's look at number 2. Keep it short and simple. We call it the KISS principle. That's why I put those that little icon of the lips there. Sometimes you can say keep it short, simple, and sweet. If you're having a meeting just to have a meeting because it's on the agenda, that it's like, uh-oh, we're supposed to meet, but all of a sudden you do not have an identified goal to meet, and that you talk with your leadership team, meeting for meeting's sake is wasting people's time. And we need to give back when we need to give back. Yet at the same time, if we're committed to a schedule that we have to be there, we need to make sure that we are planning ahead of time. And if it's a lighter load, you could say, of action items for this time, and it doesn't need to be a 30-minute meeting, then going into it saying, you know what, we've got this agenda today. I think we can work this out in 15 minutes, because I would love to give you 15 minutes back that you can be more productive in your classroom to make a better impact with your students, for that Monday morning impact or a transformative Tuesday impact. So again, give time back is so important, but keep it short and simple. Some other things that go along with this, sometimes we hurry up to get through staff meetings, and then other times we are starting the meeting too late. We expect our teachers to be there on time, and then yet us as an administrator or your leadership team, we're not respecting their time. We first and foremost must respect time. If a meeting's to be start as an after school activity, let's say if it's at 3 p.m., we should be ready to go by 5 to 3, but respecting time starting. And if everybody's there ahead of time, start the meeting and then end 5 minutes early. Give that time back. Respect that time of teachers. It's important. That respect goes a long way, and they will value you as an educator for that very, very purpose. Okay. Number 3, accommodate to the learning needs of your K through 12 staff. What that looks like is we must model more frequently collaborative and instructional learning. If we're expecting our teachers to be using more different ways of using their technology, of collaborative strategies, if there's new instructional approaches, that you're kicking off each new online learning moment now with a social emotional learning impact, we should be modeling that same impact in our staff meetings. If we're expecting them to be integrating that SEL more, then we need to be modeling that as well. Also, I really try to keep it short and simple. When I have a meeting that lasts for an hour even, or even if it's 30 minutes, I make the impact at the beginning that it's 5 minutes or less because I want to set that anticipatory set, but I want to hook them and engage them right away. And I always make sure that the closings are very purposeful and it's a hook that I can have them reflect, they can give their 2 cents to get out the door basically as their exit ticket, but also to define and add closure. Because what happens, what I've heard as teachers will say, we had a rush to get through the meeting, we got all the way to the end, there was no closure. And then my principal just said, okay, everybody go. That's like, it's like seeing a movie for 2 hours and all of a sudden they cut the ending off. It's like, whoa, what happened? Where are we going? So closure is really important too. The other thing that has been very, very effective for me when I model this, if I'm working for school boards, if I'm working with admin leadership teams, or if I'm modeling it for teachers, I always make sure that not only when we kick it off as a large group, I make sure that we have creative think tank groups, meaning that I can create these groups quickly on the fly that could be random, or I could be using an online tool that I can randomly create them. It could be a color strategy. It could be that I have color dots around the room and they're sitting at a place and then the reds meet, the yellows meet, the blue meets, or it could be by grade level band groups to make it extremely meaningful because I need those thought leaders from that grade level group. Yeah. So, okay, is anyone else not seeing my slides right now on the screen for some reason? So Ramona says she's not seeing my slides. Let's make sure that you're seeing them. Okay, so Ramona, I would say right now as a strategy, refresh your browser if you need to. Okay, thank you. Refresh your browser as a technology tip. You may have to log back out, log back in and get to the link and come back in just in case, or if the internet is slowing down, perhaps not playing it back. Okay, thanks everyone for the feedback. The other thing, when I have my teachers in groups, I have a strategy specifically. I will have our teachers, if there's a time that I need just a pause and a process reflection time that I want everybody to have a voice, I call those single Lone Ranger moments. That's when they're by themselves reflecting and giving me critical feedback. Yet, are there times that when welcome back, Ramona, friend, okay? And if there's times that I need to have my teachers to be in a think tank and they need to really strategize, but we want to have creative conversations, I'll set them up as dynamic duos. So I have 2 teachers in a team. I also sometimes need another perspective. So that's where I'll have transformative trios. And in transformative trios, that's a think tank, but I also make sure that somebody is the recorder of the information, and then somebody also is the presenter of their group sharing out that information. And also the third person basically is helping to assist where need, but making sure that everybody kind of has a task and everybody is valuing and listening to others. Yet at the same time, they are also have a task. Then I have amazing quads. Amazing quads I normally set up as 4 in a think tank, and then we purposely do like a Freyer model. A Freyer model is that I will give 4 different types of questions to solve the problem. I may bring up a slide deck and I put it in a quarter, and then each quarter has a certain question that to solve the problem. So that would be amazing quads, and then everybody contributes to that as well. Some other ideas that we have to set the tone when teachers first come in, and then I'm going to pause and give you a moment just to share with me. I usually have a visual image up when the teachers come in. I have a slideshow. I may have a Mimi showing up that's related to what we as a community are, which is a picture with a a thought or a quote on. I may have some really fun, could be instrumental or acoustic music that's uplifting and upbeat, because the music sets the tone. It really can make that if the teachers have a long, stressful day, that music can set the tone to get us in a whole different mental state. I also make sure that I think it's imperative in today's world, we need to feed them, because if you feed them, they will come. That means healthy treats, healthy snacks, and they can be individualized, making sure that it's safe that they pick up, that they're not touching anybody else's. Sometimes I've made individual gift bags for them too, and making sure that they have them, because we need our brains to be replenished with good nutrition and water, because our brains are 80% made up of water. So we need to make sure that we keep hydrating our teachers and ourselves as administrators. So H2O is essential. We should be drinking 100 ounces of water a day. When we feel sluggish, when we feel tired, and when we get stressors or those headaches, it's most likely we're dehydrated. So we have to do that. Now, either tapping in again, as I mentioned, collaborative Microsoft and Google Docs, of whatever choice that you want to use for note-taking agendas. I also kick off my meeting, instead of me always taking the notes, me leading the meeting, we do a collaborative shared leadership approach, and we rotate those jobs, and everybody becomes a skilled master at facilitating, at leading, and note taking or recording of information and then sharing that out. So we try to create a shared collaborative slide or a slide deck or a document, because in case of one of our teacher friends couldn't make it, they instantly have the summarized notes, which is really important. I also include a box that we also add as our summarized action items as a statement. So they know this is the task that who is in charge of and who needs to complete, and a timeline that needs to go with it. So everybody's accountable, and then we help each other meet that timeline. Now, the other thing I like to do is getting to know you activities. So some of the things that we're first coming together, yes, there's key things that we must need to present and must need to get through, but it's important that we can read the room and getting to know our teachers better. So I have a little Flipgrid icon over there. Sometimes I've introduced as a Flipgrid, I'll put out an essential question of a getting to know you activity or an all about me activity. And then teachers and administrators can come in based on key questions I've asked. But I also have in this slide deck the link that says a getting to know you activity. It's a PowerPoint slide deck. So just like we would ask our students to build a community of learners at the beginning of our school year, we need to be asking our teachers to build a community of learners. So what we model to kids, we must be modeling with our staff, because that is imperative, so they can see what we're doing, so they can take that quick one idea and just repurpose it with their students to use in the class tomorrow. So those quick wins are essential. So let me pause. I've talked enough now. I'd like to know from each of you, what are some quick wins that you've done to set the stage, that first 5-10 minutes of your staff meetings, to get them involved? Have you used a visual? Have you used music? Have you used food? Have you used getting to know you activities? What have you done that's really worked? So I'm going to pause so you can reflect, and then I will connect with you to summarize our statements, to validate what you've shared.
Can we share out? Can we
Oh,
share?
yes, please do.
So one thing we do at my school, like we start each one of our like meetings with just staff appreciation. So usually we have like a teacher of the month, like our staff meetings are once a month. So we teacher of the month, a co-teacher, an aide, educational aide of the month. So we started out with just celebrating teachers and then talking about wins for the week that we've
I
had.
that's brilliant. I love that. Thank you for sharing. And it is, we should be celebrating more often, because if we're not celebrating, we don't know what's going on in the school, right? And that's to bring awareness and celebrating as a team. I know a lot of teachers all of a sudden feel like, uh-oh, they're saying Mrs. Harm got this award or she did this. I'd like to be celebrated with a team. What did we as a team do? What did we as successfully as a team do? So it's, yeah, all around wins. But there are times we really do need to identify teachers that have really gone above and beyond, but also so they can share their stories. Those stories are successes. That means other teachers will also be inspired to try something new. Absolutely. Yeah. Jocelyn also shared games, YouTube videos, music, free chat for students. Absolutely. Any of those strategies will work. We've also used, it's a game called Goose Chase. I don't know if you've used Goose Chase before, but I'm just going to put it in the back channel chat. This is called Goose Chase. And let's make sure I spell it right. It's Goosechase EDU, goosechase.com/edu is the educational version. There's a free portion and then there's a paid for version. But what I really like about Goosechase, it allows your staff and students to be active in a Goosechase that they can safely socially distance actually and participate in this online learning. You can set it up according to a content area or a theme or a getting to know you activity. And they have a lesson that's jam packed full of activities. And they do have right now as well about 5 or 6 getting to know you activities or welcoming teachers and staff back to school to start the school year. Okay, so I hope I typed that in right because I put it in there pretty quick, but goosechase.com.ed or goosechase.com/edu. That's a quick win that you'll love. I've used this with teachers and students, and we've used it as a review or as an anticipatory set to gauge where students are at of understanding and knowing of a big concept area or a topic area. But then it allows teachers and students that participate in that game, they can validate their learning by reflection, leaving an audio comment, creating a quick video of 15 seconds or less with their team, and then it gives them a leadership board. So you can turn that on or turn that off. So it can be competition based or it's totally team based or individual. Okay, that sounds good, Jocelyn. Thanks. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing, everyone. Here's some other things. This is one of my favorite activities. 6 Thinking Hats plus 1 is a research-based strategy to truly understand who your staff are, how they think, how they create, how they make, but how they process information and what their personality is when they come to you as a staff. 6 hats of thinking, and if you can see that slide that we're showcasing today, is basically 7 different hats that really represent us as an individual. Now, I did link in, I have a 6 hat thinking design challenge. I've used that with my staff and I've used that with students that I've worked with also. So 6 hat thinking will allow for you to actually take like a little paper cup, or you can take like a K cup from a Keurig coffee maker if any of you have access to that. Use a recycled cup, but you're using makerspace supplies, and based on their learning attribute of which color they represent themselves, they then design this cup as a maker challenge to represent their best selves, and we call it the unique individual you activity, because each teacher that comes into your school has got this gift of all of these creative ideas and this beautiful intelligence. And what a better way to showcase how they learn best and why and what type of hat they wear. So that's an activity you can repurpose and reuse if you like. But now, if you look at that hat, can you identify which hat best represents you? Even though you may wear multiple hats, which we all do, but which hat really represents you as an administrator, or if you're coming in as a teacher today? So as you can see, like the red hat is really about emotion. The red hat really is an intuitive view, has hunches, and really relies on gut and a feeling. But if I go to the other end of the spectrum, if I look at the purple hat, that's an invested hat. That's a person that's very committed, invested, very subject specific, always seeking new ideas objectively. But then if I go back to the other side, if I have a yellow hat, that's a person that's very optimistic, very sunny, very positive, and has just sunshine rays of hope every single day, right? Okay, finds the marigold in everything that they do. Okay, so let me pause for a minute. Could you share in the back channel chat which color of hat best represents you of your personality and how you think and how you work with a team? And then tell me your why. Why is it that you have that color that is radiant of you, and how you can bring about your best self with those attributes of learning? So once again, I know it's going to take a little bit for that to show up in the chat, but feel free if you want to turn your microphone on. I'd love to hear from you of which color of hat that you do wear and the why. Okay, Charlotte says that she's got a green hat. She likes to spend time with growing loads of new strategies and ideas, and with people willing to share ideas to help you grow as a teacher. Everyone has something to share. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
I would say I was more of the blue hat.
Okay.
Just the organization piece, just making sure everything flows, and if there's anything that happens, we can kind of plan. Just so the over planning and the just the implementation of the plan.
Absolutely. So, what would happen if you're a planner and wear the blue hat? And let's say if something goes wrong with your plan, are you one that can pivot and adjust right away? Or does it take a little bit to get over that hump because it's like, oh, my plan failed. I'm kind of upset. I got to rethink this. You got to pause and you've got to reset. What do you think?
I think usually I'm just like I kind of over plan, so I'll have something else
Okay.
planned for that, and then sometimes I'll just maybe turn it over to the people who have the ideas and kind of
Okay.
chime in with them.
Okay, brilliant. I love that. So you really pivot and you can help out right away. Okay, that's excellent. Some people that are planners that I've known to work with, and I'm a planner too. Sometimes I will get stuck almost because it's like, oh, I planned this and it didn't work out the way I wanted it to be. And you spend all that time and you almost become deeply frustrated. So I've learned to better adjust and pivot and say, you know what? I need to tap into my teacher friend here. I'm stuck and I need help of thinking differently of how to approach this problem. And that's building that trust amongst your staff. So I can already see right away in the back channel chat, like here's Jocelyn. She says she wears a yellow hat. So she's very optimistic about the teaching scenarios that she's working with, the positive outlook and comfort of encouragement. I love that. Nora saying that she's focused on the judgment. She tends to follow the rules and traditions. Yep, absolutely. And that's absolutely fine. We have some yellow hat thinkers and also a blend of blue. And interesting how all the hats work together to make a productive team. Aha, Jocelyn, you noticed that, right? I use this type of activity, especially for teachers to kick off the school year, because I want to know what type of colored hat thinker they are. Because we need to celebrate the inspiring ideas, the diversity of learning experiences, the background and the culture that everybody brings into our school. We need to celebrate that. And when I purposely then plan, sometimes with team strategies when I plan teams, I want to make sure that I have all of those hats represented at a given time, that when we work together, so that we have all these perspectives. But sometimes I need to make smaller groups. And then I may have sometimes I'm going to say, you know what? I need all the yellow hats together today because I want all of these positive ideas that can possibly come out. And today I want all the green hat thinkers today. And I want you to put all that energy into it and design something that's normally ordinary and kick it up 10 times to make it extraordinary. So, but if we did that all the time, what would happen, if we put all the white hats together and all the black hats together, we could have some people not even being productive in a meeting. So that's why we need to celebrate diversity of our learners and which type of thinking hat that they wear. So because of that, this could be a strategy that could help you get to know your staff better. But also I've used a twist on this where if I'm normally, let's say, a blue hat thinker, I would say, okay, today, if I'm normally this hat thinker, today I want Naomi, I want you to put on the yellow hat. I want you to gain and to showcase your perspective of understanding that now I want you to have this yellow hat thinking to approach this problem. So it really builds empathy and a more compassion based culture among your staff, and it helps them be more aware. And that's the point here, a better perspective. So I just wanted to share that with you too. So it's a different way that you can use that. The six hat thinking design challenge, I've used it with staff and students, like I said, and that link is embedded into the slide deck for you to take and to use with your staff or recreate how you feel is purposeful. A few other things. Number 4, let's change the room setup and layout. This is important too. Consistency is crucial for some people, but sometimes we need to change the room setup. Now it's really relevant now, right? Because of the pandemic that we're in, we now have to change that room setup to be socially distanced and making sure that we're all safe coming back in a large group. So changing the room setup can also allow for more creative learning stations or learning centers. So this particular area is that if your table is large enough and the space conducively, we could get two teachers at that table if there was enough space between them. Then we've got a teacher friend in the back that she's working as this on the stand-up whiteboards. That's a think, share, and a brain a think tank area that now she may want a sketch note. She may want to just put some ideas on, and she's ideating all kinds of different ideas. Then we've got teachers in the back of the room that have more or less stand desks that are in the back that they're going to work together as a team, and they're working through and deconstructing a problem over there. So just like we model for kids that we want them to have experiences to collaborative working groups and smaller groups such as duos, singletons, and trios, we need to model this for our staff. And this is a good way to safely socially distance as well too, but still get our productive work done in a timely manner. So it's something to also think about. Here's another room layout, and this is what we've even done from past years. We usually have these amazing quads, as I mentioned earlier. This is another room setup. Now, safely social distancing now, this may not be the most ideal, right? We need to now even space it more if you have that room. Or we may have two teachers at a table, but way at the far ends away from each other. And then we've got to move those chairs out to different areas. So this is where I would probably move the chairs out. And then in the quadrants of the rooms, that's where I'd have those think tank areas that we can rotate around. I've also used the outside of our rooms for professional development, and I use the hallways, and I call those learning streets. Learning streets will allow for you to put up like the large sticky poster papers. Like we have a sticky note, but then you get the poster papers. I will put those in the hallway, and then I'll put those on with an essential question. And then we can use like voting dots, having teachers vote, doing the compare and contrasting if I need a solution that's generated, or helping teachers that they actually write their ideas down of how to solve that problem or add strategies to it. And then we can rotate through very quickly, but safely socially distance. And then you're getting teachers up to move around that's safely doing it, still masked and getting them to where they need to go. But we're getting more beautifully blood-filled oxygen to our big, beautiful brains, because we need to be up and going. We're sitting so much with all this distance learning. It's a great way to have a health and wellness plan. We're getting more steps in, but safely social distancing at the same time. Here's another area. If you have lounge or sitting areas, sometimes now you may want to have consistency where teachers are sitting, so they're not anybody spreading somebody's germs to somebody else. But if you're spaced with enough comfortable seating, you can still have a pretty collaborative conversation if they have their masks on, if you're 6 feet or more feet apart, but then you're at a circle, so you can still see the beautiful eye contact. And by your eyes can smile, so you can still see some facial context clues. You'll know. Or if somebody has a discerning moment, you're going to see that their eyebrows are going to go in, and knowing that, I think she's thinking more about that. So I can see by your eyebrow reflection that you have some more thought or some critical insight that you'd like to share. But creative strategies now, even more so, we need to model what we're expecting of our teachers, especially with our students. Some other ideas, here's number 5, creative props that offer creative choice and PD as well. We need to do that. If we're asking to do creative choice boards or different strategies for our students, we should be offering creative choices for our teachers. So by doing that, I always have like an essential hook. I do want to show an appreciation. So our teacher friend that you came in from Washington, D.C. today, I'll have to make sure that, could you pronounce your name so I can say it correctly, because I want to celebrate your name? Is it, it's Lacondria, but how do you pronounce that correctly?
Lacondria.
Lacondria. Oh my gosh, that's a gorgeous name. And I love it. I love the syllables. Oh,
Thank you.
thank you for making my heart sing. With that, so Lacondria, or that beautiful name, we celebrate the unique individual gifts that each of our teachers bring. Each of our teachers is filled with so much compassion and empathy, especially their first year of teaching. And we as teachers coming back and administrators coming back this year, it's almost like it's our first year of being an administrator or a teacher again, because we're doing things differently. We're recreating the wheel. So let's celebrate the diversity, right? So I have some quick little pictures here that you can see. One is that we've got a some more little package together, wishing you some more, it says, and then some other things that you can add to it. The middle one is giving some teachers celebration moments that are packed up around the room, meaning they can be on your bulletin boards, they can be at different places, but you're celebrating teachers. And then also an Instagram replica page as a bulletin board too. So instantly they can see that visual, and then they can be having snapshots out and then sharing it. But the visualization helps teachers feel appreciated. And even when you have sent them just simple thank you notes, but the visualizations like this, the tangibility, almost all teachers that I know love chocolate or love something nutritious as well. And dark chocolate can still be a nutritious fact. But having something to say thank you, you're valued, you matter, you're appreciated, and doing that when they least expect it. But the visualizations also will pop in your hallways and pop in school areas, or put them on a door when they least expect it, or even in the restroom area where it's appropriate. You're celebrating your team in unique, creative ways. So those are just called creative props. Um, other areas that have really helped teachers connect the learning is also not only that there are always these must-dos, but what about projects that are based on passion projects? We have some teachers that are very passionate about different social emotional learning techniques and strategies. We have others that have gone through maybe some of the effect of the trauma training recently, and they're like, wow, this was a really good strategy. We need to look at this more and how we can use this. So we need to provide the opportunity for teachers to share their passion projects. And almost like part of those days of your staff development, give back some time that they can invest in a passion project. So the next time that they come together, sharing back at the first beginning 10, 15, 20 minutes, something about their passion project that they really invested in throughout the week, or whether it's 2 weeks, of something that they think that is so wow worthy to share with the rest of the teachers that it could improve their instructional approach, or to personalize and build stronger relationships with your students. So thinking about that for this next year, because that's going to be an essential hook, especially for our distance learning, is passion projects for kids. We need to allow our teachers to feel that they can energize themselves with identifying a passion project to help them in an area that they may not have afforded themselves to invest in themselves. So let me pause there for a minute. What are some creative props or even passion projects that you have introduced to your staff? If you'd like to put in the back channel chat, or if you'd like to orally share at this time. Any strategies that you'd like to share? And I know those thoughts will come through, which is not a problem. I always try to allow for at least 10 seconds of pause and wait time. That's the biggest thing. We rush people too many times. And what happens, they're still trying to bring about that prior knowledge from their back quadrant of their long-term memory, and then processing that through their frontal lobe to add those neurons to connect those learning moments and then to reflect. And that's the biggest thing right now, is taking that time to allow for more processing time. So if you have an idea that still comes up after the fact of what are some creative props that you could use, what are some possibilities of introducing passion projects and allowing time for our teachers, even when their schedules are quite heavy right now, how can you build up teachers to allow them to invest in themselves? And thinking about what's even one maybe bell ringer activity that could be a passion project to hook their kids more in the morning. What's a relationship building technique that teachers could invest in as a passion project? What is something that we could work on health and wellness for ourselves as a passion project as a group? So just keep thinking about those strategies. Here's some other things too. Coffee and conversations. I've worked with a school district that the administrators, once or twice per year, usually the fall and the spring, that instead of meeting right within the school district, they have coffee and conversations. Grade level bands go to the local coffee shop or an outdoor eatery, or a place that they can go get something quick to eat and or coffee, or have a lunch and learn and extend the learning hour for the teachers. And they go and have a conversation based on one or two essential questions that are something to have a deeper conversation around. And then they come back and then they share their ideas and strategies that they formulated. Sometimes the administrator, if you have a smaller group of staff, will also say, hey, let's meet here today. And we're going to be discussing a few topics that we need to focus on. he or she will say, I'm going to pick up the coffee or tea tab today. And guess what? I'm going to leave the questions up to you. There's one that we must cover, but there's two others that if you can strategize. And then the administrator leaves, meaning that the teachers have that freedom. They have that teacher agency that they can converse and share ideas now amongst them, not thinking that the administrator is always watching over them. So if you have a budget to do that, I would say, you know what, coffee and tea time, it's a very, very cost-effective way to get more teachers to share other ideas as well. And Jocelyn, thanks for sharing ideas in the back channel chat too about the lunch bunch. I love it. Those are great ideas. Other things, if you're interested, there's a strategy that's called Pineapple PD, and that's been around for about 5 years. And Pineapple PD really engages and motivates all of your educators. And it really truly focuses on building relationships and a collaborative culture of energized learners. The other benefits of this, it creates trust, value, communication, so that they can learn from their peers. But this has to be modeled in order to be replicated. So what this basically means is that you can use a sign-up sheet, and it can be put in your staff room or wherever that you'd like to put it, or online through your collaborative documents. And this is an area that a teacher may say, well, I am introducing how to use a bell ringer activity to get more kids engaged with an essential hook or an anticipatory set to start off our conversations for the day. I'm going to be modeling that during my 3rd and 5th and 6th periods today. I'm willing to open up my classroom that if any other teacher has prep during that time, come on, and I want you to be a learner in my classroom to learn something new. And so that's an open door policy. Some teachers will put like a stoplight sign. It'll be like red, yellow, and green, meaning the strategy that I'm introducing today, maybe it's going to be, I'm going to be introducing how to use Screencastify to flip my teaching with my students. And I'm going to be co-teaching with one of my lead students that has really mastered how to use Screencastify already. So I want to use the strengths of the student that he can reach his peers. So because of that, we're going to be strategizing yet. We haven't perfected it. So I may put on that red, yellow, and green, I may put my color outside of my classroom door. That means it's an open door policy. I'm putting it as yellow, meaning we're still working out the technology bumps and hiccups, but look at our strategy of what we're working with. And then there may be another time at another classroom that they're going to be saying, I'm just introducing my new project-based learning unit. This is the first time I'm going to be using this with my littles as an early childhood all-around community. I'm going to put a red dot outside of my classroom door. That means that I'm just starting this. I'm trying my best. I'm going to have some major hiccups. You're still welcome to come in, but this is what we're doing, and this is where my comfort level is as a learner yet. But if you want to come in and give me feedback, I'd love to have you give me feedback. So that's another way to think about Pineapple PD. There's all kinds of ways that you can strategize. I've used this with collaborations of school districts and rural school districts in Wisconsin. So we've done this as PD that others are learning from neighboring school districts when they couldn't travel to see others. And they created a collaborative calendar with 3 school districts. And then when they were done teaching their lesson, they actually recorded small snapshots of their lessons. Teachers could come back in, and when time allowed, they'd watch that recording to gain just-in-time simple ideas. If they were 5-minute wins of video recordings, or if they recorded the whole 30-minute session. So it worked out really well. Here's a few other activities I'm going to give you, and I know we're kind of running out of time, but I will probably go over. So if you want to stay with me, and if you can't stay with me the whole time, I understand, no worries. You can always go back to the recording. Number 6, play collaborative team building games. And I mentioned one earlier of Goose Chase that works really well. But other things, I also have a linked list here that's called Great Team Building Games that will also complement your social distancing. And it's called an epic list of great team building games. So if you'd like that, tap into the link. So I want to make sure that you can get that. The other areas are the team building games that you can see. They break down into, it says ideas as building blocks, truth and a lie, the barter puzzle, there's scavenger hunts, there's Mad Lib missions, there's show and tell activities, there's geocaching adventures. Teachers really love that. Oh my goodness, because you can create geocache around your schoolyard, and you can actually hide, and then you plot by latitude and longitude with the geocache.com site, and teachers can identify and find trinkets around the schoolyard that you find together, and all of those are a piece of a puzzle that can come back and to make a meaningful connection of your theme for the year. So we've done that too. So that's some great things of helping teachers build those building blocks together to create the theme. I mentioned Goose Chase, so here's that slide as well. I wanted to give you that. So they've got like day one PD, they've got school safety, they use it as a welcome back. There's all kinds of ways that you can use this, but I just wanted to make sure that that's what it looks like when you get to that landing page. Number 7, tell stories and use quotes and memes or metaphors. So please, in the back channel chat, if you have any of these ideas that you've used, please add your collective intelligence here. I'd love to learn with you today. So share and tell learning impact stories. You know, we have education protocols. If you haven't heard of those, I'm going to add this link in the back channel chat too. I've worked with John Kripko from California. I love him as a teacher friend, meaning because we have worked together and we've got some great strategies here for you. So here you go. It is, make sure I get the link in here, eduprotocols.com. Okay, I'm going to take you there. So you'll get the eduprotocols.com. Eduprotocols is a great way to use collective slides to actually have a main theme or a topic. And then like the share and tell, it's basically you could have teachers read a passage that they need to first learn about something more about that you are focusing on. Then you introduce the education protocol as basically it's called share and tell. And when they share and tell, or you could also do a sketch and tell. They can do a sketch on one side of their understanding of what the topic is they just read, and then they share their information about the big pieces of information, the most important bulleted points. Then when they're done with that slide deck, we partner them up as a dynamic duo with somebody else. They do a comparison and contrast with that piece of information to showcase their evidence. It's great strategies. They're called instructional frames, is what education protocols are. And that instructional frame of that protocol stays constant. It's just the subject matter or the point of view that of the question that you've introduced or the topic that you're reading. That's the only thing that changes. Once the protocol is understood by your staff, they know exactly what they need to do. It's just the piece of information that you give them of what they're reading, synthesizing, or analyzing is changing. So it works out really good. Other pieces, 15 playful moments of tech learning moments. I cannot tell you how effective this strategy is. In our staff meetings, because we're expecting our teachers to know so much more about technology and especially to be more technology literate, we need to show what we know. We need to have teacher teams as duos and trios show a 1-minute wonder. You know, if you want to learn how to use Screencastify, well, let's kick it off with a Screencastify moment and how you can use it to introduce yourself as a teacher to engage your students. How can we use Screencastify to learn a new tech skill? So I can watch a video clip of less than 5 minutes, pause that video clip, process that information, and then apply what I know. But even 15 minutes of playful tech learning moments in collaborative groups of sharing one idea at each table goes a long way to get that investment in those teachers, because the teachers trust their peers and they want to learn from them. So it's a great way to learn together. Inspirational quotes to really to cultivate the positivity and strengthen the social emotional e-learning amongst all of your educators and your administrators. Anything that we can do for that is really, really imperative right now. And the more quotes is going to help us change our perspective and our mindset and help us reframe our thinking to move on to another situation. That if we've left something that was kind of intense over here, putting that instructional quote up or inspirational quote can help us transition more easily too into what we are expected to do. A few other things that I'd like to share with you. I have a linked connection here. It says storytelling to boost a school's culture. This is a great link to really focus on how you can tell your story to ground your staff in meaningful learning outcomes. Everybody loves listening to a story. And even if the story is only 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 or 5 minutes long, a personalized learning connection goes a long way when we're trying to validate connections of if we're initiating a new curriculum, if we are initiating a new authentic assessment or formative assessment approach, if we have a new teacher referral service and things like that. We just really need to identify a story can go a long way to set that stage for essential learning. So it also represents your school culture, that if you can tell your story as an elevator pitch about the culture of your story, that's a win-win-win right away for your teachers, because they know, aha, I want to be here and I want to be at the school because my story builds all of us up and everybody has a value add in it. A few other things just to listen, reflect, and connect. I start my morning off almost every morning that I watch a TED Talk video. I want that boost of inspiration. I want to motivate myself because I want to give back to the teams of teachers that I work with and the administrative leadership teams I work with, and especially school boards. I need this energy at times. And sometimes my energy has been completely sucked out of me because of all the things that we're doing right now to get everybody up to speed with teaching and learning. So I build in motivation moments to build back my own social, emotional learning moment in the morning to help build me up. I also build in Flipgrid educator voice prompts. There's times that teachers don't want to have to text. They don't want to have to email. Let's give them a different venue to share their voice, right? I also use Marco Polo video mic drops. Marco Polo is an app that you could actually record yourself through the video or a text. And when it's recorded, it's archived in this little channel, and then teachers can watch it at their time, the time that's most appropriate, and then they can respond to it. Voxer walkie-talkie group chats. I use that. I have a big women in leadership group chat right now that I have in the Midwest, working with those teachers. When I have a question and I know I can't solve it, I'll add that question or what am I thinking into that Voxer, and I leave it's a walkie-talkie. So I push the button basically on my phone, it records my message, and that message is instantly sent to those 10 women in my group chat. Usually within 3 to 5 minutes, somebody gets back to me with a possible solution. Oh my gosh, does that make my life so much better? So I use it as a tech help kind of 101. But then if we're brainstorming and saying, you know what, what's the best strategy right now for online teaching and learning? When I'm expected as a teacher to virtually record my sessions for kids at home, and then I've got half of my class in my classroom. What are some strategies? So we've used that question prompt lately to help us as well. So that's another scenario. So Voxer walkie-talkie group chats, or I use Marco Polo video mic drops of all learning or jaw-dropping moments is what I use with our teachers, and they just love it. Okay, play music, and I mentioned this already to set the tone of the learning. Music can lift our hearts, can fuel our souls, can make us get up and dance like nobody's watching, right? We need that type of lighthearted and fun in our life right now. I also use Calm. Many of you probably have heard of this. Calm sets the tone for your room, meaning you can play something very calm and subdued. I use this during a lot of transition times. I use this during a lot of think and pair share activities with teachers. I use this also when I need just some quiet time for a solitude moment, when I need to read, when I need to write, or when I want others just to have that think tank moment of having that solitude, of having kind of just a more quiet and relaxed setting. Other things I use, I do create, and I've tapped into other teacher lists that are called Spotify playlists. Those are essential too. When you want your kids to get up and moving, you need those brain boost moments, but then we're safely social distancing. We need those transitions. Our middle school kids, our high school kids love music. They love music. And encouraging your kids together with you, create a collaborative list that's appropriate and educationally appropriate, and having kids create the playlists that complement your theme units of study, but also have your administrative teams. Let's create some Spotify lists that represent us as administrators. What a better way to get up and moving. Some other things, here's that thing as music. You can get playlists too, that if you want swing and big band. I grew up in a family in Northeast Iowa, and every morning before going to church, we always had on the radio, the radio back in the day, right, in the 70s and 80s, and we listened to swing and big band. And it really got us in the mood, and it was great to set the tone. We always made a big family breakfast after our time with our family at church, and it just was a ritual. And those grounded rituals brought us as family members closer together, and that's what I remember most. And the food just was such a comfort thing, but it was a great balance. We always had our fruit, our vegetables, and we always had a brunch make and take. Everybody contributed. So anyway, the other things, I love the 80s. You know, I'm an 80s girl, so I love to play that back. That gets me in my groove. But the other thing is, some of you may not know that you've worked with me before, but my heritage, I'm Czechoslovakian. So my grandmother was born over in the old world in Czechoslovakia at the time, which was the Czech Republic. And from that, when she was born there, and she came over here, and from the heritage for my dad as well. So I love that side that comes up, because Czechoslovakian is our ritual that we make beautiful homemade fashion bread and kolaches. And kolache is a pastry that's a beautiful bread that's filled with wholesome good fruit like raspberries and blackberries and things like that. But also it's known for their polka music. Polka is a type of art of a dance, and it's uplifting, it's celebratory. So it'd be interesting to know that your staff could each share their heritage, their cultural diversity that they bring to the table. Because a lot of people will say, well, Naomi, well, your skin is white, you must be white, right? You're white. We get categories, we're white. But I'm actually, when you look at that, my partial of the, when you look at the dynamics made up of me, my Czechoslovakian heritage, yes, my skin is white, but my family values and upbringing from coming from France and Czechoslovakia, it's interesting those perspectives of where we're coming from and our history and our cultural diversity that we can bring to the table of our learning experiences. And I tell you that I just love that. I love finding out where everybody comes from, where the different countries, and if you're a first generation immigrant or you're a second generation, as such as I, why we're here and why our family values have contributed to make up our staff community. It's important that we know where we've been. Number 9, provide recognition and team rewards. Yes, I know already that our teacher friend right from the beginning had also mentioned, you had also said that you give staff rewards, team rewards, and celebratory awards of really recognizing some great things that are going on. That is essential. That's essential. A few more things to share with you, and then we'll wrap up our meeting. I have a link here. It says you earned it. These are 25 staff appreciation and to recognize ideas that won't break the bank. Some of them are just funny and humorous, and others are just filling your soul with goodness. So I've got that link as well. Some other things, here's some other times, time to brag and celebrate. There has to be a moment. You got to brag sometimes, right? But brag with your team. Do it as a we moment. Do it as an employee choice opportunity also. Employee's choice, meaning your staff gets to choose what type of celebration and let them plan it. Why not, right? Reward the whole team. Coffee on me or tea on me. Choose your own learning moment. Ask yourself, how would you celebrate this learning moment? What could we do as a staff and help them plan? We as administrators should be also making personal phone calls. Use this mobile phone for good. Pick it up and make a personal phone call. Do a Marco Polo mic drop with them and record that quick video clip and tell them why your staff is so well worthy or how you caught them being good, that you want to celebrate that learning. And again, celebrate learning off-site when you can, because sometimes the repetition of on-site school building, and now we're like, oh boy, can we socially safe or stay here safely now? So we got to know what we're going to do. So off-site work, out in the nature, get outside, enjoy that sunshine, right? And number 10 is always to celebrate the learning. Celebrate the learning. Open and end staff meetings, no matter what. Celebrate with positive celebrations. So everybody knows that we're in this to win this. Even all of this time of our online and blended learning, there's been a lot of heavy, right? A lot of heavy. But we've made a lot of gains. We have found great ways to be more effective, more proficient with delivering of our teaching and learning, more creative ways, how we're reinventing what our classroom space can look like, what we can do to blend learning. We have to celebrate our staff. We have to. And again, this is where I wanted to get input from all of you as we started, and you shared some of your ideas already. It's your concept, but I'm hoping right now that your idea that you normally would have, that you've kicked it up 10 times that amount, that you've made it an innovative idea to make it extraordinary for your next staff meeting. So once again, everyone, my name is Naomi Harm. Thank you so much for your time, your individual attention, and your sharing of your collective intelligence today. If you'd like to follow up with me, you can connect with me at naomi@naomiharm.org, that we can create and make that next staff meeting even 10 times better so we can brainstorm. You can follow me on Twitter at Naomi Harm, and my motto is, together we are better. There's no way we can know it all, but bringing together our brilliant minds, we can just make ordinary into extraordinary learning opportunities. So again, I have in this slide deck for you, I've got all of the links that I mentioned, and I want to make sure that you got those today. So I can also share, if you need the link again to the slide deck, I can put it in the back channel chat one more time. If you'd like, I have a few more moments. If you'd like to turn your mics on or your videos on, I have no problem with that, and we can share some more ideas. So in the meantime, I'm going to click stop presenting, and then I'll bring it back as a large group. So if you'd like to have a more critical conversation, love, love, love to hear from you and learn with you. Okay, Charlotte, you too. Okay. Oh, go ahead, dear. Sorry.
I tried to download the slide deck, but for
Uh-huh.
some reason it wouldn't let me. It said I didn't have access to it.
Okay, let's try it again. Some of you got it the first time and the other time it didn't come up. So let me try it again for you. I'm going to
Okay.
bring back up my Microsoft Edge browser. I'm going to go back in here and let's go back to share. Let's make sure. And I have it set right for you. Okay, I'm going to click on my share link. It's popping up a window, so it's going to think about it. Let me go here and okay, I'm going to apply and I'm going to copy that link. I'm going to copy it again. And now I'm going to come back over to my window that I'm chatting with you in, and I'm going to add it back here. So let's put the slide deck in here again. Okay, see if it will work that time. Oh, do you know, I know last time somebody said what they had to do. They copied the link and then they put it in another browser tab because it's almost like their browser tab blocked it from opening, I think, is what happened. So if you copy the link that even somebody else already has it in the doc setting, somebody else shared it already. Yeah, so she took my Microsoft link and put it into a Google Doc link. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I
So
have
if
it
you,
now. Google
okay,
Doc. Okay.
okay,
Thank
okay, yes.
And I
Because,
just got it too. Yes.
okay, yes. And it's because they want us to share it through Microsoft because we're showcasing Microsoft tools and things that we're doing. So I'm trying to do it in an appropriate manner. But yes, you can take that and put that into any of your suite of applications, whether you're using Google or Microsoft. It's your choice. I don't have a problem with that. Okay. Okay. Any other questions, Charlotte or Ramona yet? Did you have questions? Anyone else? And LaCondria, do you have any other questions at all?
No, no other questions. But I did want to make sure I got the presentation. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, dear. Enjoy the rest of your day in Washington, D.C. That's
Okay.
wonderful.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, dear. And Charlotte, enjoy the rest of your day in Ireland, unless you have another question. And Ramona, if you have a question, love to help you. Okay, you're all good, it looks like. Okay, thanks, everyone. Have a great day.